Okay. So we start with second lesson of operating system, that is operating system services. Now in the first lesson we had already seen how do we define the operating system, what are the different views of operating system. We have two views, system view and user view. Then we had seen in which different modes do the operating system operate. We had two modes, one was the user mode and another was the kernel mode. So the system keeps on switching between both the modes depending upon what task is to be performed. After that, we had also seen the different types or the evolution of the operating system. Previously, we had sequential operating system where all the data or all the applications were getting executed in a sequence. Then after that, we started using batch operating system. What was common in both? We had a job or we had an operator, whether all the data was being collected, given to the operator, and it was duty of operator to give it or load it in the system. What was used commonly in both? Punch cards were used. But what was the difference in the sequential and batch? In the batch operating system, we were preparing the batch of all the similar type of programs, and then it was being loaded inside the system. Then we used multi-programming operating system. What was there in multi-programming? More than one programs were executed by the system or by the multiple programs of the user were executed by the system. But what was happening? Do we had multiple CPUs? No. The CPU was one in common, but it was divided in a form of a time sharing basis where every computer or every user program were being given with a specific time, and then depending on that time the execution was done. So even if the execution was incomplete, the user program had to wait for the next chance to appear. Then after that we had seen what was multitasking. Multiple tasks were user was able to perform multiple tasks at the same time. So at the same time user was able to work on PPT. In the background he can listen to some music. At the same time he can open a word application and start doing typing into the word also. That was multitasking. Then we had seen real time operating system, out of which we had two real time. One was hard real time and the soft real time. What was the difference in both? In hard real time operating system, the response time has to be very accurate. So if a system is has to give the output at 10 second, that means it should not miss that deadline. If it miss, we cannot say that it is a hard real time operating system. And if it was soft, we were allowed to do some kind of changes or modification after the user program was being given as the input. Then the last operating system which we had seen was multi-threading, where a single program was divided into multiple threads, and we define each thread as a lightweight process, where every thread has its own code, has its own stack, and has its own register. Okay. Now, in this lesson, that is operating system services, we are going to see that what different kind of services does the OS provides to the user. Now, can anyone tell me how do we in general define an operating system from whatever you have learned in the first chapter? How do we define an operating system? Disha, Disha, are you there?
It's the applicable software.
What is operating system? So it is an interface between the user and the computer hardware. So if a user wants to communicate with the system, it cannot communicate directly. It has to communicate via the operating system. So your OS is acting as a intermediate or an interface between the user part and the system part. Okay. So now when I say that operating system is providing the services, so what type of services they are? Let it be any service. The services are provided to the user as well as to the programs that are executed by the user inside the computer system. Which are those services? See, first one is program execution. So user is allowed to execute any type of programs inside the computer system. User is allowed to perform any kind of IO operations. User is allowed to perform any kind of file operations like creating the files, changing the contents of the file, deleting those files, inserting any new data into the file. That is file system operation. User is allowed to perform any type of communication inside the system. Error detection. So once if the program is being loaded inside the computer system, if there are any kind of errors in that program, those error detection is also being done by the OS. The next is resource allocation. So if a program requires any external resource, that is data from any part of a file inside the system or data from any kind of IO attached to the system, so such kind of resource allocation is also being provided by the OS. Next is accounting. Accounting means how much program memory is being used, how much computer memory is being used, how much is being allocated, how much will be deallocated. All that things with is nothing but the accounting with respect to one particular user. And last is protection and security. How can I give a protection to that user program? And how can I secure that user program which a user has given inside the system for execution? So all these types of services are being provided to the user as well as to the program or the system by the operating system. Okay. Let us see one by one each in detail. Okay. First one is program execution. Program execution means writing a program. So user will write a program, give that program as an input to the user, to the system, and system will execute that program. That is what is called as program execution. But we know one thing that whenever a program starts its execution, it is no more called as program, but it becomes a process. Okay. So operating system handles many kind of activities from user program to system program. So if I have given a execution of a program that a page should be printed, so I have attached a printer, I have given a command control P, I have clicked, I have done all the setup, and when I press on print, it is a duty of a system to print that particular page. Like that, if I have written a program addition of two numbers, I have given the input of first number, input of second number, it has to add that two numbers and generate the output to the user. So let it be any type of program or any activity which a user does, all that activity has to be executed by the system and has to produce the output to the user. Okay. So which the activity once before it has started, it is program, but after it has started, it is converted into a process. Okay. So what are the major activity that a program execution does? First activity is loading the program into the memory. So I have written the program. I will first, whenever if anything has to be executed or any program has to be executed, it has to be first loaded inside the memory. And from memory, it will be taken by the CPU for the execution. So program execution means what? First work is to load the program into memory. After it is loaded, execute that program. Next part is handle the execution. If it is any error, it will check for the error. If it requires any other input from any other file, it has to take that input from file. If it wants to take the input from any IO device, it has to take the input from IO device. So that is what is handling of the execution. Mechanism for synchronization, communication. Synchronization and communication means if a user is giving the input, see to it that input is accepted properly. If I have given 2, it should accept it as 2. If I have given 5, it should accept it as 5. That means all the communication that a user is doing, the communication has to be synced with the program for the proper output. And last is it should not have, or there should be a mechanism for deadlock handling. So if in case there is any deadlock in the system with respect to that program, it is a duty of OS to handle that deadlock also. Now how the deadlocks are handled, what types of deadlock occur, all this will be taught to you in detail in the next chapter. So for now, just remember one thing, if in case your program encounters any kind of deadlock, it is a duty of OS to resolve that deadlock. Okay. So all these duties or all these kind of management is done by the program execution. Is this understood?
Madam, what is a deadlock?
Now, for example, I have two processes, P1 and P2. Now, P1 wants wants the data from any particular device which I have attached externally. Now, at the same time, P2 is also requesting for a data from the same device. So can both the programs get the data from same device at a time? It is not possible. So what is happening? P1 is also requesting for something, and a same request is made by P2 also. So in such case, if the resources accessed by both the processes are same, it we say that those two processes has occurred in a state of a deadlock. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So who is going to handle this deadlock? It will be handled by the operating system. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Next we have is IO operation. Now, an IO subsystem comprises of IO devices and the respective device driver. Now, we know that whenever we use any IO device, we have to install its respective drivers also. Some of the drivers are automatically being recognized, some have to be installed from the CDs. Okay, so whenever I do or whenever I perform this IO operation, the first thing which I have to check is that whether is the devices inserted properly, and after, if the devices are inserted properly, do they have their corresponding driver software or not? Operating system manages all the communication between the user and the driver software. So only attaching the devices and using that devices is not going to work. If I being a user have attached that devices, I have to also check whether those drivers are being installed or not. And then the communication between the user with that device drivers are being handled by the operating system. What kind of IO operations do we perform? We read from the devices, we read the data from devices, we write the data to the devices. The data may be written to a specific file inside those devices. So all this is considered to be as IO operations. Reading and writing procedure with respect to those devices attached to your system. Next is file system manipulation. Now, what is that file system manipulation? It is nothing but the files and folders that we have inside the computer system. So what is that file? It is a collection of information. Where you have those files, it is there on the hard disk, the partitions of your hard disk. Okay, you have some files in your D drive, you'll have some files in your E drive, F drive, some are on the desktop. So all these files which are there inside the system, every file has some or the other properties. What properties do they have? The file operates with, they are accessed with some speed. They have some amount of data stored. कोई file 2 MB होगा, कोई file का size 3 MB होगा. Every file has its own data transfer. Every file has its own name. Every file has its own modification date. It has the date and time on which it was created. So all these properties with respect to this file are being managed by whom? They will be managed by the operating system. So we call that thing as file system manipulation. Right from creating of the files along with getting the attributes with respect to the files. Now see, following are the activities which our operating system looks with respect to file management. First is what program needs to read the data from the file, or it may require the data to be returned to the file. So that read and write operation with respect to file for that particular program is being handled by the file management service. Operating system gives the permission to the program for the operation of the file. So every file does not have every permission. Some of the file may have only read permission. Some of the file may have read and write permission. Some of the file may have read, write, execute permission. So that permission is also being checked before any operation is being performed on the file by the operating system. So see, permission varies. It may be read only, it may be read write, it may be access denied, and so on. Operating system provides an interface to the user to create and delete the file. So along with these operations of read and write, the user is also allowed to create its own file. After the creation is done, if the file is no longer required, the user also has a permission to delete that file. So I being a user, can I create any file on my system? Yes. Can I write the contents? Yes. So if I am a owner, I can do everything. But if I want to access any of the files which you have created, at that time the permission may keep on vary. Okay. The next we have is communication. So we have two major types of communication. First is between the processes which are executing on same machine, and we may have processes which are executing on different machine but connected via network. So I can have two programs communicating with each other which are executing on a same machine. But if I at the same time I may have, if programs which are on two different computers, but since those both the computers are connected via the network, I can have the communication between those two processes also. So two type of communications are being allowed in case of execution of a program. The next is error detection. So if while executing in a program, if there are any kind of errors being generated, so your operating system also has, or it provides a service called as detection of the error and correcting those errors also. Now, how do we do the correction and detection of these errors via the system calls? So we have different types of system calls. Which are those system calls that we will see in the upcoming slides. Now, next is resource allocation. Now, what is resource allocation? If a program has started its execution and if it requires a resource. Now, every program that executes requires some or the other kind of resource. First, it requires CPU for performing the execution. It requires memory for storage of that data. Now, then again, that storage may be of different types. I may store it in secondary, that is in the hard disk. It may get stored in the main memory itself. So every program that executes requires some or the other resource. But how these resources are being allocated? They are being allocated by using the algorithms, which we will be doing in fourth lesson. For now, just remember there are four algorithms. First is first come, first serve, FCFS. Okay, so how will be the resources allocated? They may be allocated to this process in the first come, first serve manner. तो जो प्रोग्राम पहले आएगा वो प्रोग्राम रिसोर्सेज को पहले यूज करेगा, यूज करने के बाद वो रिसोर्सेज को एम्प्टी करेगा and it will complete the execution. Then process 2 will come, utilize the same resources. After the utilization, it will leave the resources and go out. Again, process 3 will come next, utilize the same resources and will go out. Next, again, process 4 will come, utilize the resources and go out. That is what is first come, first serve. Second will be shortest job first. तो जो प्रोसेस कम टाइम लेने वाला है वो प्रोसेस पहले आएगा, रिसोर्सेज यूटिलाइज करेगा एंड देन इट विल गो आउट. उसके बाद जो नेक्स्ट कम टाइम लेगा वो प्रोसेस आएगा, रिसोर्सेज को यूटिलाइज करेगा और जाएगा. So it will be like whichever process has or is going to use less time will be chosen first to complete its execution along with utilization of resources. Next algorithm is priority. So whichever process has the highest priority given, it will be that particular process who will be selected first for the resource allocation. So what will be there when the process enters inside the system for execution, a priority is assigned to it. So if a process P4 has priority 1, which is highest, so who will be utilizing the resources first? It will be process P4. After that, whichever has the next highest priority, it will be that particular process to utilize the resources. So based on the priority, I will be changing the process, and depending on that, the resources will be given to that particular processes. Last is round robin. What is that? Every process is being given with a unique time quantum. That is, if it is 3 minutes, all the processes will be utilizing all these resources for 3 minutes. If it has completed its execution, it can go out from the queue. But if they have not completed its execution, it has to again wait till the next chance comes. So this allocation of the resources is being done with the help of these algorithms. Okay. Next is accounting. What do you mean by accounting? It is going to keep a track that which user has used what kind of resources, and it will create a statistics of that particular resources with respect to each and every user. Why is this accounting done? In order to enhance the performance of the system. So to know that which user is utilizing which resources for how much amount of time. That is what is accounting. Next is protection and security. What comes under protection and security? Whether are all the access to the system resources given to the authorized user or not. If in case there are any invalid access attempt, what the operating system is going to do when there are such kind of invalid access. It will also check whether each user has created its own password with respect to the file system or not. Now we have seen here that in the file management system, a user is allowed to create and delete the file. So has a user created its own password to protect this file or not? Because what will happen if the file is kept open, any other user can come and manipulate this file or manipulate any kind of data or can do any changes to that data. So in that case, operating system will also check whether is the file being protected with any kind of password, or is it protected with any such kind of permissions like read or read write and denied, so on. Okay, so that work is also done by the operating system. Are all the services clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt so far? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so which were the services? Program execution, IO operation, file manipulation system, communication, error detection, resource allocation, accounting, protection, and security. Clear? Now, next we will be seeing is a system call. Now, what is system call? It is a programmatic way in which a computer program requests for the services from the kernel of operating system. Now, how do we define OS? It is an interface between the user and the hardware. So now when this operating system or when this user is giving any request, how is that request submitted to the kernel through this operating system? It is done via the system calls. So even if operating system is intermediate between both of them, but how is the request and response received by this operating system in the form of the system calls? So it is nothing but a way that a program used to interact with the operating system. So I being a user, if I've written any program, how is my request going to reach the kernel via the operating system with the help of the different system calls? So whatever services we have studied, all these services have different system calls. So if I want to allocate any resources, I have to use that specific system call. If I want to create a file, I have to use a specific system call related to creating a file. If I want to execute a program, I have to use a respective system call for executing a program. So every communication of a program with the operating system or the kernel part is done via this system calls. Okay. All the programs which requires the resources also uses the system calls. So what we are going to do in the upcoming slides is we will be seeing what are the different system calls with respect to all the services that we have studied. Okay. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. So see, these are the different types of, is the PPT seen, no?
Yes, ma'am.
So these are the different types of system calls. We have total 6 categories. First, system calls related to process, system calls related to file manipulation, system call related to your devices, IO device manipulation, system call related to information maintenance, and system call related to communication and protection. Now see, which are the system calls related to processes? We have end and abort. We have load and execute, create process, terminate process, get process attribute, set process attribute, wait for time, wait event, signal event, allocate and free the memory. So what was the first service that the operating system was providing? Program execution. So if I want to execute a program, I have to first load that program in the memory, start the execution, handle the execution, look after the communication, look after the synchronization, and look after the deadlock. So to perform all these activities related to the process inside your system, I am using the system calls. So what is the first system call that is being used? Create process. What will this create process do? It will first convert your program into process, which has been given for inside the system for the execution. Once if the program is being completed its execution successfully, and when it has come to the end instruction, it will end the execution of a program. So to end the execution of a program, I'm using the system called as end. Suppose if by any chance, if there is any error or any kind of hardware failure, and if the system has stopped the execution of a program, so what will a system generate at that time, or what will the system use at that time? It will use the system called as abort, which means what? The program execution was stopped abnormally. That means it did not come to the end of the instruction, or it did not come to end of the line because of some hardware failure or because of any kind of external failure. The program had abnormally stopped its execution and it was being aborted. So we, in such case, we make use of abort system call. Next is load system call. What will load system call do? It will load your program from the memory for the execution. Once if it has started the execution, it will make use of a system call called as execute. If entire process has been completed, your program has given the output, and now if it has gone out of the queue, it is called as terminate process, which means what? It has generated its output, provided the output to the user. It has also saved inside the memory, and now it has completed. Therefore, it is called as terminate process. Then we have get process attribute and set process attribute. Now, every program, before it has entered into the system for execution, is a program. Once it enters, then it becomes a process. So when I say only program, the program has some name. Program is stored at some location. There's some owner of the program. Program has taken some of the space inside the memory. So what are these? These are the attributes related to a program. Similarly, once it goes inside for the execution, the properties or the attributes remain same. If I want to know these attributes, I will be using the system called as get process attribute. So when I execute the system call, what I will get is the name of a process, who is the owner of the process, where it is located, how much is the size, at what time it was created, at what time it was modified, on what date it was created. All these data will be provided when I use the system called get process attribute. When I use set process attribute, what I can do is I can set the name of the program. I can set the location of a program. I can set the owner of the program. I can set the modification date of the program. I can set the time of the program. So if I want to add, I will make use of set process attribute. But when I want to get that information with respect to process, I will make use of get process attribute. Okay. Now, when I use this wait for time, wait signal, and signal event, in case if a CPU has gone somewhere, if suppose I have two programs, P1 and P2. P1 अभी execute कर रहा है, but P1 has gone to take the data from the memory or from IO. If you remember, I had told you last time we do not make CPU wait because it is a multi-programming. CPU will immediately start the execution of program 2. So what will happen when P1 has stopped and the CPU is given to P2? P1 will generate these signals, these system calls. Wait for the time, or wait till any event occurs, or wait till any signal event occurs. Once if this occurs, whenever these signals occur, that means the CPU is right now not with that particular program. Since that program had requirement of some external resources, therefore these system calls were generated. Okay. And last is allocate and free memory. So if a program is there inside your system, we will use a system called allocate memory. Once if the program is deleted from the system, and since the memory is being set free, we make use of a free memory system call. Are these all system calls clear with respect to process control?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now see, what is happening? A user has written a program, C program, to print a greetings line or a greeting word. Okay, so right now we are in a user mode where a user has written this program. For execution, it has been shifted to the kernel mode. So what has kernel used? A system called as write to write that program. Then it will use a system called execute to execute the program. Then it will use terminate. Once the program is completed, it will use terminate system call, and then the output will be displayed back to the user. Okay. So after the program is written by the user, given to the kernel mode, as soon as it switches to the kernel mode, all these system calls are being activated. Understood? Next, we will see what are the system calls related to files and devices. What are the system calls related to file? Create file will create a file. Delete file will remove the file from the system. Open file will open the file for the user and it will read the contents from the file. After the contents are being read, it will generate a close system call to close that file. After it is opened, to actually read, it will make use of read. To change any contents, it will make use of write. If at all it wants to stop writing at particular position and again rewrite from some another position, it will use this reposition pointer. That means it has stopped currently writing on line number 2 and from next time it has to rewrite from line number 5. So it will be repositioned from 2 to 5. So in that case, we will use this reposition system call. Again, how we have attributes related to process, we have same attributes related to file. What at what date it was created, what time it was created, what when it was modified, who is the owner, what is the location, what is the name. All this are attributes. If I want to know those attributes with respect to the file, I will use get file attributes. If I want to set, that means if I want to change them, I will make use of set file attribute system calls. Now next down you can see these are the files, system call related to your devices, that is IO devices. If you want to use the IO device, you will make use of request device system call. Once that device is used and if you want to give it to some another process, you will make use of release system call. If you want to read the contents from the file, use read system call. If you want to write from the contents of those IO devices, use write. Again, if you want to reposition, that means एक device के अंदर पेन ड्राइव है, वो device के अंदर you have a file and वो file से आपको data read करना है. And if you have repositioned it, so you have to make use of this reposition system call. Again, आपको devices का attribute जानना है. What is the name of that pen drive? उसका storage कितना है? उसके अंदर files कितना है? Who is the owner of that device? All this can be get with the help of get device attribute. If you want to change, you will change it with this set device attribute. What is logical attach or detach? As soon as you connect the plug, it gives you the pop-up that new device found, new USB device found. That is logical attach system call is used as soon as you attach that system, as soon as you attach that device. When you detach, what do? Right click करके उसको लिखते हो, remove it safely. आप जब उस पे क्लिक करते हो, again a pop-up comes, you are now, the device is now safe to remove. Then you remove the device. So who is communicating between them through those pop-up messages? It is the detach device system call. So when you attach, the system call related is logically attached. When you try to remove it, the system call uses detach devices. Okay? Is this understood?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So these were all the system calls related to the respective services. Now before that, are you aware about the two user interface of the operating system?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is this command line interpreter and what is graphical user interface? This is very common. Everyone.
Command line,
Hmm.
command line, which will when we communicate with the system using some commands using in the shell in the terminal. So
Yes,
that is a
correct.
command line interface.
And what is GUI?
In GUI, we have to. There is a graphical user interface.
Communicate.
हाँ, तो graphical user interface में क्या क्या होता है? मतलब what do you have?
Buttons, text,
Correct.
input fields.
You have buttons, you have icons, and through those icons and buttons, you try to communicate with the system. So we have two interfaces, command line interface and GUI. Okay, so in command line interface, what do? Is you open up the terminal with the help of some commands, you try to perform the operation. Whereas if it is GUI, you make use of those buttons and icons or an interface to communicate with the system. So when I say you are in command line, when I say that you're opening the terminal and you're writing the commands, what is the terminal called? That terminal is called as shell. Okay. With respect to Linux and Unix user, we have different shells. What are those shells? We have C shell, we have Bourne shell, we have Corn shell, etc. Now, how do we identify between these different types of shell depending upon the symbol or a special character that we use? Now, just a minute, let me open the notepad and show you those characters. So I have C shell, I have on shell, and I have on shell. Okay. All these are what? These are the terminals with respect to your Linux and Unix. How do you identify? They are identified by using some or the other special characters. Okay. So what special characters are used? If it is C shell, you make use of hash. If it is Bourne shell, you make use of dollar. And if it is Pawn shell, you make use of percentage. Okay, so when you open the prompt, that is when you open the command prompt, as soon as if you see this as the first symbol, you have to consider that it is a C shell. If you see this dollar, it is to be considered that it is Bourne shell. If it is percentage, you have to consider that it is Pawn shell. Where you write the commands, you write the commands in front of these respective shells. Okay, and these prompt, these are called as prompt. So these prompts come
Ma'am,
automatically when you start that particular terminal. हाँ बोलो निशित.
ma'am, but in Bash, when we switch to the super user, to the new
हाँ
user, the
हाँ तो
command,
आपको हैश हो जाता है.
prompt changes to the hash.
हैश हाँ तो वो at that time that hash is root user.
But it is still Bash, na?
Yes हाँ. In that we are switching the user by changing the particular shell. ओके सो अगर मतलब हम उसको सुपर यूजर का राइट्स दे रहे हैं, एडमिन का राइट्स दे रहे हैं, इसलिए वो प्रॉम्प्ट चेंज कर रहे हैं. नॉर्मल यूजर का डॉलर ही होगा, बट जब एज सून एज यू स्विच इट विल बिकम हैश, इट इज चेंज फ्रॉम नॉर्मल यूजर टू सुपर यूजर, इसलिए उसका टर्मिनल भी चेंज हुआ. ओके
Yes, ma'am.
So like this, we have different shells with respect to different operating system. And in front of that prompt, we start writing our commands. So how are we interacting with the operating system? We are interacting with the operating system through those commands. So when I write create file command, what it will do, it will create a file with that particular name. When I say delete file XYZ, so what it will do, it will delete the file XYZ. But when I use GUI, do I write such kind of commands? No. I simply click on the file name, I right click, I delete. I say right click, create new, it will create a new file. So both some of the operating systems are command line operating system, where some of them are GUI based operating system. Okay. Is this understood up till here? Yes or
Yes,
no?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see any PPT?
No.
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so what we have done up till now, we have seen different types of services that operating system provides. We have seen the system call related to those services. We have seen the different types of operating systems, like one is the command based operating system, one is GUI based operating system. Now let us see, what do you mean by process state? Program in execution is called as a process. So every process has to pass through some or the other state. So we have total 5 state. First is a new state, next is a running state, next is waiting state, then we have ready state, and then we have terminated state. Now what do you mean by new? Whenever a process is created, it is in the new state. ठीक है, तो अगर प्रोसेस न्यू में जाता है या प्रोग्राम न्यू स्टेट में जाता है, तो what does it mean? The process is getting created there. From that new process or from that new state, it can go either to a running process or to a ready process, or a ready state or a running state. Now when it goes to running state means what? Program has started its execution. Process का execution start हो चुका है, therefore it is in running state. Now in between this new and running, we have one more state called as this ready state. So when it enters into the ready state, what does it mean? That the process is ready to execute, but it is waiting for CPU. As soon as it will get CPU, it will start its execution. So what is happening? Let me open the word and draw the diagram and show to you. That will be more clear. So I have new state, I have ready state, and I have running state. Now what is happening over here? It is going like this. When it is new means what? At that time process is just created. When it is new, what is happening? Process is created. Process create हो गया, प्रोसेस क्रिएट हो गया, ठीक है। अभी मुझे क्या करना है, प्रोसेस क्रिएट होने के बाद आई हैव टू अलोकेट अ सीपीयू टू इट, देन ओनली इट कैन एग्जीक्यूट, अदरवाइज इट कैन नॉट एग्जीक्यूट. So what I have to do is I have to send it to the ready queue and ask the ready queue to wait till the CPU wait till the CPU is available. CPU is available. Once if the CPU is available, immediately transfer the process from ready state to running state. CPU is available. Are you understanding this? Are you understanding? Yes or no?
Yes,
हाँ,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
क्या हुआ, प्रोसेस को एग्जीक्यूशन करना था, तो प्रोसेस को एग्जीक्यूशन करने के लिए ये 5 स्टेट के थ्रू जाना पड़ेगा. तो व्हाट इज द फर्स्ट स्टेट? व्हेन इट एंटर्स इनटू न्यू द प्रोसेस इज क्रिएटेड. अभी उसको एग्जीक्यूट करने के लिए वी कैन नॉट डायरेक्टली सेंड इनटू रनिंग स्टेट बिकॉज इट माइट हैपन दैट मेनी अ टाइम द सीपीयू इज नॉट फ्री, so we cannot directly send into the running state. So to check the availability of the CPU whether it is there or not, we first send the process in ready to check whether the CPU is available. If CPU is not available, the process will wait till the CPU is made available. Once if the CPU is available, it will immediately transfer itself into the running phase. After it has completed its execution, रनिंग मतलब क्या, सीपीयू मिल गया, सीपीयू प्रोग्राम एग्जीक्यूट करेगा, एग्जीक्यूट हो गया, एग्जीक्यूट होने के बाद आउटपुट भी दे दिया. so what will the process go? The process will go into which state? It will go into a terminated state. That means what? End of the process. उसने आउटपुट भी दिखा दिया है यूजर को और उसका काम खत्म हो गया. It can go out from the queue. So once if that process is terminated, I will immediately select the next process for execution. Again, that next process will go in ready, check if the CPU is available. If it is available, immediately go into the running state, complete its execution. After the execution is completed, immediately go into the terminate state, which means what? The execution is being completed and the process can go out to the queue. Now, what about this waiting state? Because state hai, that is called as waiting. Be waiting matlab kya? It has to wait for some reason. What is that reason? For example, I have a process P1. I have a process P1. Now P1 wants to get executed. So the process is being created in the new state. P1 process create हो गया new में. P1 will go to the ready state and it will wait till the CPU is allocated. P1 को CPU भी मिल गया. So it will go from ready state to which state? Running state. P1 में आ जाएगा. P1 running में आ जाएगा. Now, if P1 requires some external resource, for example, data to be read from any IO device or data to be read from any external attached device. So in such case, CPU will not be waiting till the P1 gets the required resource. What will CPU do? It will immediately remove P1 and it will send that P1 in the waiting state. Means वो P1 को जब तक वो resources मिल नहीं जाते हैं तब तक running will transfer that process from its own mode to which particular state? To the state of waiting. Why? Because in this concept we are not going to make CPU unnecessarily sit idle. So in such case what will happen? P1 is running, P2 will be entering into new state, P2 will go into ready state, P2 will be transferred immediately into the running state also. Again it will take P2, does it require any external resources? No, it is not requiring any external resources. So it will complete its execution and send P2 in the terminated phase. Now waiting of P1 is being completed. जो उसको resources चाहिए था वो उसको resources मिल गए. इसलिए P1 क्या होगा, वापस वेटिंग से इट विल कम बैक टू विच पर्टिकुलर स्टेट, again it will not go to new or neither it will go to ready, but it will immediately come back to the running state. So as soon as it comes back to the running state, CPU is idle for that time. It will execute it will complete the execution of P1 and send it to the terminated state. Okay, so I can have a process going from running to waiting and waiting to running. When will this happen? If a process has entered into running state, during the execution, if it requires some data from any external resources where CPU involvement is not there, so in such case, the process will immediately be transferred to the waiting state and the next process in the queue will be taken for execution. Once that previous process has completed its waiting by taking all the resources from any external source, it will be brought back again from waiting to running because it has already completed its new state and ready state. After it has completed the execution by CPU, it will be transferred into a terminated state. Is this understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts? So what am I doing? I have started the execution of P1 also and I have started the execution of P2 also. So by using this concept, we can achieve multi-programming where execution of P1 was started. At the same time, P2 was also started, but CPU was allocated only to one process that was initially at P1. But as soon as P1 was transferred to waiting, it was allocated to P2 by not making CPU sit idle. Once P2 entered into terminated state, P1 was shifted from waiting to running state. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any doubts so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So what did we see? Operating system services. We have seen different states of the process. It can go from new to ready, ready to running, running to waiting, waiting to running, and after that terminated. So 5 states in which the process operates. Then we have seen system calls related to each and every services of the process. And then we saw 2 different types of interface through which the operating system or a user can communicate. The command line interface and the GUI. Okay. Okay, so we are left with the operating system structure. At a simple structure, layered architecture, microkernel modules. So we will be seeing this in next lecture. Okay. Any doubt so far?
No, ma'am.
Give your attendance. Faizan,
Present, ma'am.
Hamza,
Present, ma'am.
Muzammil,
Present, ma'am.
Tahir,
Present, ma'am.
Viraj,
Present, ma'am.
Om, Yash,
Present, ma'am.
Samarth, present. Devang, Reva, Soham, Jonathan,
Present, ma'am.
Sakshi,
Present, ma'am.
Om,
Present, ma'am.
Mrudul. Absent. Asna.
Present, ma'am.
Dhruv.
Present, ma'am.
Mrudul present. Sanika.
Present, ma'am.
Mayuri.
Present, ma'am.